Hello everybody, welcome back. Happy Sunday. So today we are doing another Sunday video. So if you're unfamiliar with my channel or with my videos, each Sunday we just sit down and we do like fun videos that aren't necessarily cooking related, which is what Tuesday and Thursday are all for. So today I thought I'd go into my experience with anxiety. So a year ago I did a video about anxiety and realizing now that I forgot to respond to the comments. I feel horrible. Oh my God. So I'll be responding to them when this video goes live. So if you get a notification being like, oh my God, it took Cayla a year to respond, that's why. I'm so sorry. But a lot of you guys are actually recently commenting saying that you'd like me to talk more about either my anxiety or more videos like that. So I thought that I'd start off these kind of deeper videos with an update on my anxiety. And let me know if there are any other topics that you'd like me to cover. I was in an abusive relationship for a couple of years, so I can talk about that. Don't even know what the etiquette is on like talking about somebody else. Like I feel like I'd just be like waiting for an email from the guy being like, why are you talking about me on your YouTube channel? But let me know if you want to see it. Or anything else. But yeah, like let's just get started. So I don't remember exactly how I ended last year's video. I could just go and rewatch it, but apparently I'm not that organized. So I actually filmed last year's video feeling like I'd kind of gotten rid of my anxiety and didn't really have it anymore, and that it was pretty much manageable, which it hasn't really changed, but some things have shifted. I actually felt really guilty about filming the video because I felt like I was lying, or I shouldn't be making that video about anxiety because I don't have it anymore, and like a lot of like awkward, weird guilt associated with it, which I know like shouldn't be feeling, but it is what it is. I guess that's what anxiety is. But it's definitely come back a little bit, and I guess I don't know where to start. One thing actually that I don't know if I mentioned in the last video was that hypnotherapy has actually helped me a lot in getting to this stage where my anxiety isn't affecting me on a daily basis. Certain things are, and I'll go into that in a little bit, but I thought that I'd share this if I didn't. I don't think I did, or I didn't even like really get into deep about it. So around in like November 2015, or like October, I think, 2015, I went to a hypnotherapist, I think I said that weird. And that was mainly because it was at the tail end of a relationship that I was in. It was really, really unhealthy, and I didn't really know what to do. I needed some like objective perspective, I needed an objective opinion on whether these were things that could be worked through or something that I should just like leave, and like super red flags and things like that. I so want to do a relationship story time on that video, but he is so self-important, and I feel like he would like sue me for character assassination or something. I'm not even kidding. Even if I was completely vague about him, I am sure he would do that. So I don't think I can, which is like really disappointing because there's so many stories. Oh my God. But anyways, damn. So after like one session with the hypnotherapist, I realized that like it wasn't a healthy relationship, and I ended it like a week later. And I didn't really even do any hypnotherapy at that point. I just went and talked to her, and like my hypnotherapist was a woman, and but I kept going back to her. And we decided to like focus on my anxiety because I still kind of had it. It was peaking a little bit at that point. I found that whenever something is going wrong in my life, or when I'm in a situation that isn't good for me, my anxiety starts to like creep up on me. And I was actually in New York with him. If you guys followed me on Snapchat then, when I was in New York, you can remember, yeah, that was the guy. New York was great, but I love New York, obviously. obsessed. But my anxiety really, really started to peak there, and I was having panic attacks, and I was like trying to hide them from him, and it's just like, it's so hard to hide a panic attack. Like, but I was like, we were sitting at this Italian restaurant, and I started like hyperventilating and being like, oh my God, I can't breathe. But I was trying to hide it, and what works for me is distraction. So if I like have to focus on something and like either give information or like take in information, that distracts me from the anxiety, and the panic attack goes away. So I was like sitting there on my phone trying to focus on something, and he like thought I was like being completely rude. But anyway, so my anxiety was peaking, so that was also a reason why I was at the hypnotherapist. And if you guys haven't been to hypnotherapy before, what it is, or at least what it was like for me, was that you sit in a chair and they put a blanket on you, you close your eyes, and they kind of like talk you down. So they count, I think it's from like 20 or 10 or something like that. And in your mind, you're like picturing this scenario or some scene that they're telling you to picture. And you basically just feel very, very relaxed. It's not something that you can't break out of. I'm very, very stubborn and skeptical. So when they were doing that, I like kept checking to see if I could like break out of it. And I could. You don't want to, but you can. So it's not some weird, odd state that you're like stuck in, or at least I didn't feel like that. But what it did was it really helped me find, I think, like the source of my anxiety and the reason why anxiety became a thing for me to begin with. And I'm happy to tell you guys if you like know. When I was little, I went to camp. I hated camp. I'm an introvert. Like, why? I don't understand why people like camp. Like, I'd rather be at home in my room alone. Oh my God, I'm such a hermit. So anyways, I was at camp. I was young. I think, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5, maybe. It was like day camp, and I went with 2 friends of mine, but they actually weren't in my group. I don't know why. But we were going home one night, and there was like this big field, and like everybody had to like go to the buses, and I got lost from my group, and I couldn't find my group, and like nobody's faces looked familiar, and it was like this crowd of people, and I'm like, oh my God, like they're gonna leave without me, and I have no way of finding anybody. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody's name. Like, just I was so confused. And I remember I saw the girl who I registered to go to the camp with, and so I was like, oh, I know her, so she'll know me. So I went up to her and I was like, where do I go? And she looked at me and she had no idea who I was, and it was so stressful because I was like, oh my God, like, what? Like, why don't you know me? Like, I know you. You just, am I like just this forgettable? Like, why don't you know me? And I mean, like, obviously now I understand that you're not going to remember like one child's face out of like hundreds that you've probably seen. But that was the moment that I realized that, and it was a hard realization. So I was just so lost and confused. And like, obviously, like eventually I found my way back to the bus and everything was fine. But it was really, really stressful, and I felt completely powerless and like abandoned. And so what hypnotherapy did, oddly, was, I don't know, after like they counted down and we, like they took us. And so with hypnotherapy, the reason why that memory even came up, because I didn't even know that that was an issue. Like, I don't think about that experience on a daily basis. Like, I had no idea. So with hypnotherapy, they like guide you through this like little scene, and then you kind of just let your mind wander, and then it wanders into different memories or experiences you have, and you kind of just allow your mind to run with it. So that was the memory I had. And then in my mind, we like adult Cayla guided young Cayla onto the bus, and oh my God, I'm like about to cry right now. So when I'm so stupid. I mean, like, so many people have gone through so much more, and like I'm crying because like I couldn't get on a bus. But when I like took control and like helped my younger self find her way back, I like burst out crying like while being hypnotized, and after that, like, and then they like count you out of hypnosis as well. And so after that, we kind of talked about it a little bit, and then I was like driving home, and I felt like this massive relief and this calm over me, and it just felt like I had kind of fixed the thing that was causing me so much anxiety, or like the fear that was causing me anxiety. And it just like for the next like year and a half, it was like so manageable, almost had no anxiety at all. I was super calm. It was like almost weird, but like nice weird. So that really, really helped me. If you guys are looking for a way to help combat anxiety, if you want to go like deep to like the core of the issue, I really, really recommend that. So there was that. And then around the time I was filming last year's anxiety video, I was dating somebody who, how do I want to describe it? He kind of led me to believe the relationship was leading somewhere where it wasn't, just for his selfish gain, if you get an idea. And that really, and like I was completely smitten with him. I think I loved him. And he was just there when he wanted to be, and when he didn't want to be, he was so cruel and just like was horrible to me. And that really, really, really was hard to manage. It's a super, super, super long story, and like maybe I'll go into it one day. I'm not sure, because it's still a bit like icky. But basically, on my birthday, I discovered that he was on Bumble, which is fun. Bumble's a dating app, if you haven't heard, and like, yeah, it's just complicated. But anyways, the idea of being with somebody who I knew deep down didn't care about me the way I wanted him to, it like ruined me, and I was so depressed. I'm realizing now that I have depression. Like I always thought it was like just anxiety, and I know that anxiety and depression are linked, but I didn't know that I had it, and it was in that time, and that was around last summer, and then I started dating him again in December because I'm stupid, or because it happens, because people get lonely, they do stupid things. I realized that it wasn't just anxiety I was dealing with anymore, it was depression, and oddly enough, like the second I left that situation, the depression kind of lifted, but the realization that it wasn't just anxiety anymore, it was a bit of an adjustment, because like I had anxiety down pat, I had all these like coping mechanisms, and then all of a sudden there's like this crippling sadness like on top of it, and I didn't really know how to deal with it. So I basically just pushed through. I didn't see anybody, I didn't talk to a therapist at all. I was thinking about it, but I was just like busy, and work took priority. Since that happened, and I'm not with that guy anymore, I actually, a couple months ago, he reached out, and I sent a really, really, really mean message back, finally like cutting ties, and I was like so proud of myself that I did that. It was like, finally I have the strength. Oh my God, spilled my coffee. Finally I have the strength to like tell him what I should have told him like a year ago. But since then, I feel like the depression has kind of lingered. It's not been something that's just like kind of cut off as soon as I got out of that situation, unfortunately. So that's been an awkward kind of like, I guess it's been a learning experience, because it's unfamiliar territory, and there's days when like you just don't want to get out of bed, or God, even like when I'm working, you can feel like this like cloud of sadness like creeping in, and you have to like catch yourself, because like because like when it hits me, it's what is it? Like I don't know. I don't even like know it well enough to like describe it as well as I can describe anxiety, because it's new. But it makes doing things a lot slower, and it makes pushing through things and getting more work done kind of hard. Not to the point where I'm not able to function. Anxiety does a really, really good job of that. Where I talked in my last video, was it my last video? No, it was the 50 Things About Me, where in terms of work, the way anxiety can kind of get in the way is that it like paralyzes me, and I don't feel like I can like physically get up and do it, because like the task seems like completely daunting, when in reality it isn't. Depression just kind of like makes it even harder to get up and push through. But yeah, I'm still at the point where like I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I should talk to somebody. I don't know if it's like a situational thing. It's weird, because doing YouTube, it is quite isolating, and so I don't have a really strong like social network in person. I have amazing friends who live overseas, but none in but like no one I see on like a daily basis. I probably see like one person a week, to be completely honest. Like that's how isolating it is, at least for me. But yeah, so part of me doesn't know if it's just because I don't interact with people that much on a daily basis, if that's why I'm feeling a little down, or if it's just depression because it's depression. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have any conclusions. It's weird. I don't like talking about things when I can't like tell you how it was fixed, or like talk about how I overcame it, or like any tips I have, because like I have zero. Like I don't even know what I'm dealing with. Yeah, so there's that. The other day, actually, when I was filming, I was watching Tati Westbrook's like wedding video that she posted, and I watched it and I like burst out crying. I was crying so hard just because I was like, look at what she has. Like I so like want that for me. But right now there's like nobody. And it's hard. Like I love being in a relationship, but things are just, it's just so not, what? And so I feel like a lot of like the depression or loneliness is like connected with that. It's been a long time since I feel like I've been with somebody who's actually like genuinely like loved me for who I am, not for like who they wanted me to be or for like selfish reasons or stuff like that. So realizing that, God, the day I realized that, it was, there was a lot of crying. But I'm also at a point where I'm working a lot, like 14-hour days every single day. So I don't know. And like, I don't want to live in Toronto, so I shouldn't be dating somebody in Toronto because I don't want to be with somebody who wants to stay in Toronto. And I mean, obviously there's exceptions to that rule. If I meet somebody who is like wonderful, maybe I'll stay. But it's like this inner like struggle, and I don't know what to do. So yeah, so that's what I'm dealing with right now, which sucks. And there's also something that happened in around like, I think like May or June, yeah, this year. I'm pretty sure that the people involved will be watching this, so I'm going to be purposely vague, because the issue isn't mine to disclose, if you get what I mean. Otherwise, I totally would, because I just like, I hate videos when someone's like, I'm going to tell you something, but I can't tell you everything. Like that irks me so much, so I get your frustration, like, believe me. But, so, how am I going to be like purposely vague? So it was something that had to do with a lot of confrontation, and there was like a big group of people involved, and it was bringing up an issue that had like been brewing for a long time, and I wasn't directly involved, but I was there, and I didn't want to be, but I felt like I should have, but I felt like I should be, so I was. And I dealt with a lot of confrontation, and I will avoid confrontation like so much. Like I hate it so much, but this whole situation was just like all confrontation, and it was really, really uncomfortable for me. I don't know. It was, how do I describe it without telling you? Oh my God, I hate this. It was like watching that particular social circle I was in. Oh my God. This was so much easier if I could say it. It was like watching, I guess, a big part of my life just fall apart. And, I'm about to cry. Here we go. I feel like you're not a real YouTuber if you haven't cried on camera, right? And it's a part of my life that I never thought would fall apart. It's, I'm wearing false eyelashes because I realize it looks better when I'm filming, and I'm like so worried that this should like fall off my face. Anyways, so yeah, it was realizing something that I thought was stable and something that I could always go to and was always safe was just really, really not. And it was really, really hard to realize that. But I'm someone that if I'm in a situation where I'm not particularly like, I don't know, passionate about the outcome, or if it's something that's just, I feel like is detrimental to my well-being, the way I leave is just by stepping back. Not in relationships, but in terms of family and friends, that's normally what I do, and maybe it's not healthy, I don't know, but like, I hate confrontation, so it probably has something to do with that, but in that situation, I couldn't, and so I had to just like sit through it, and it was awful. It was so awful, like, just watching, I don't know, I'd always grown up thinking that like this is like a constant in my life and like it's always gonna be okay, and realizing that like, oh my God, like it's not. And so and kind of experiencing, or kind of just like learning about how I felt about the situation, having that like part of me come back out where I wanted to like draw back and not be a part of it anymore. But I also realized that if I do that, like I'm gonna have nothing left. So, oh, it's so heavy. So it was really, really hard, and like it's still hard. Like it's not, the situation isn't better at all. Like I don't trust anybody involved in the situation. I don't want to be involved at all. But even if I'm not involved, my life is still like hugely impacted by it, and I just like, I want to like. Yeah, part of me just wants to like completely escape and just like move somewhere completely different and just start over. And maybe one day I can do that. That's not why I want to move to New York. I like New York anyways. But yeah, it's definitely tainted everything over the last couple months. And so when going through that, my anxiety got really bad. And it was to the point where, like, when I was speaking, it sounded like I was on a caffeine high. It was really, really weird. And, like, even I could see it. And I feel like when I'm going through anxiety, it's hard for me to see it. But obviously other people can. But even I could see that I was, like, so high-strung and so, like, jittery and shaky. And it was so hard for me to, like, have, like, a conversation. I was always just like very, very like tense and very, I don't know. Yeah, it was like I was on caffeine or like adrenaline. The adrenaline was always pumping through me. And so I had that. And then I also had days where I couldn't do anything. And I had a big project I was working on. I'm still working on it, but it was like the bulk of it was during then too, which was like fantastic timing. And I had so many deadlines, and it was so much pressure to like meet them, but also manage the emotional like hellhole I was just like going through as well. And there were days when I just like sat on my couch and I couldn't do anything. I wasn't even crying. I was just like paralyzed. Like I just couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't function. And then I'd lose like days of work, and then like things would get pushed back, and oh my God, it was so stressful.